Professor Sachs, my dear friend, welcome here. I know it's the wee hours where you are, and we deeply appreciate it. I
Great
have
to
a
be
lot
with
of
you.
questions. Thank you. I have a lot of questions to ask you about events in the past 3 or 4 days in Israel, including the killing of IDF soldiers and the release of the American Jeremy Lafredo from IDF detention. But I want to read you the latest from Israeli Channel 14. This is just about an hour and a half old. I'm reading directly from what the presenter said. Israel's retaliation against Iran will not be moderate. Instead, it will be significant and will likely cause Iran to respond. Israel will need to prepare for a significant exchange of blows that might drag the Americans in, which Iran certainly would not want. Israel will attack Iran before the U.S. elections. Netanyahu approved the attack plans on Iran, and the attack is expected soon. What do you think?
Well, we don't know whether such news stories are somebody's provocations or leaks, so I don't think we can take this as definitive. But what's clear is that Netanyahu is trying to draw the U.S. into a war with Iran. If such a war occurs, it would be devastating, first to Israel, by the way, but possibly escalating to world war. Iran has Russia as an ally. It would open a second front of the U.S. war with Russia, in addition to Ukraine. Netanyahu has been trying for this for 30 years. He has been clear about it, that the United States should go to war with Iran for Israel's sake. The United States has done just about everything that Netanyahu has asked over the last 30 years. I think history will record that Netanyahu has been one of the most destructive people in modern history, one of the most reckless, one of the most shameless and cynical, one of the most murderous. And I think history will record that the United States has done his bidding. It is becoming more and more clear as more and more analysts look back on the events of the last 24 years that the war in Iraq was at Netanyahu's bidding. The war in Syria, which unfortunately most Americans don't understand, but was a CIA operation to overthrow the Syrian government, was at Netanyahu's bidding. The U.S. has basically followed Netanyahu's lead for these 30 years. Netanyahu's idea, from his perspective, is that to make Israel safe, since Israel faces threats from Hamas or Hezbollah or others, that the only way to make Israel safe is not defeating those particular belligerent forces, but defeating the countries that back those forces. So Netanyahu's idea is that he, by manipulating the United States, will make the Middle East safe for Israel. This is such a wild and crazy and reckless idea that you couldn't believe that anyone would take it seriously, except the United States has. We have gone to war repeatedly for no reason of American security, but for reason of Netanyahu's interpretation of Israel's security. This is unbelievable. And I think history will find this also a shocking loss of American foreign policy autonomy. Why did we go to war with Iraq? Why did we go to war with Syria? Why did Obama decide to overthrow Assad and so forth? These were decisions that not only did not bolster American security, they gravely weakened American security. They isolated America. They ran up trillions of dollars of debt. And Netanyahu, I think, we will find more and more, has been at the center of all of this. His grand prize has been Iran. Now he has a president who is at least politically senescent, if not physically so. We don't know. But he thinks that this is his moment of maximum leverage. And he personally seems determined to start a full-fledged war with Iran. It's pretty clear that the United States counterparts are trying to avoid that, but in the typically weak and even pathetic way. Please don't do that. We don't want you to do that, and so forth. And Netanyahu knows before the election, even after the election, Biden is unlikely to take any serious opposition. So this is a dramatic moment. I'm just coming back from a short visit in the Middle East, and I heard from very, very, very senior people. So senior, I will not name them, but very senior people who thought that the next days could be decisive for the world, that Netanyahu is out of control, and they wondered whether the United States would attempt to control him.
Do you foresee Netanyahu using nuclear weapons against Iran? And do you foresee Iran using nuclear weapons such as they have them against Israel?
Look, I don't foresee that as anybody's intention right now, but I think there's an assumption that Netanyahu has that may well be wrong. And the assumption is that if the United States joins this war that he wants, that Iran will be defeated. And I think that this is a rather wild assumption, and based on no reliable evidence that I know of. What I think we have learned in recent weeks, and again, I'm not your top military analyst. You've got many of them, but what I am told and what I believe we have learned is that Iran has very, very considerable ballistic missile capabilities, including hypersonic missiles that cannot be taken down by anti-missile defenses. Iran has the potential to strike at core population centers, to strike at strategic infrastructure. This is my bet, based on what I'm reading and hearing, what I'm hearing in discussions. This is, if that's true, and I think there's a reasonable chance of it because many knowledgeable people make this assertion, Israel is getting itself into something that is horrifying, actually.
This will result in the deaths of so many innocents. Is there no force in Israel, the IDF, the Mossad, that can stop Netanyahu from this wanton killing of innocent human beings?
I think that Netanyahu probably can get his cabinet to do what he wants. The public is absolutely terrified right now, but terrified of Iran, terrified of everything, and in such a psychological state, a leader can lead a country to disaster. It's one of the most common things in history, in fact. So my guess is that Netanyahu can get his way inside Israel. The one that can stop it and the one that should stop it, of course, is the United States. Netanyahu is not talking about Israel going to war with Iran. He's talking about the United States going to war with Iran. That's a different thing. This is completely against American interests, against American security interests. It's again a question of whether the United States military is basically at the behest of what I think is a mad Israeli leader, utterly reckless. And by the way, when you look at Netanyahu's campaign for 30 years, this man's been wrong about everything. This man has said how going into Iraq, he told the American people in 2002, he wrote about it repeatedly, going into Iraq will create security for the United States and for the region. It will transform the region. These regime changes that he's wanted, the war with Syria, everything Netanyahu has said has been wrong. So this is not a reliable counterpart. This is not someone we should trust.